Are you really ready to date again? 8 mistakes that secretly reveal you're really not ready for love. Thank you so much for joining us again on Second Act TV. I want to welcome back Treva Brandon Scharf, the dating coach, communications expert, and the author of Done Being Single, a Late Bloomer's Guide to Love. Treva, thank you so much for being here again.
Thank you for having me.
Well, a lot of people say they are done being single. I mean, this whole channel is dedicated to, of course, finding love later in life. But are we really ready? That's the topic today. Are you really ready to date again? Or are you secretly sabotaging yourself? Are you making what this article here says, which I want you to comment on, 8 mistakes that secretly reveal you're really not ready for love? You might be looking for love, but are you also repelling it? Did you find yourself doing that?
Yes, unconsciously, because we do that. We do things that we are not aware of that are self-sabotaging
Mm-hmm.
and undermining.
You're absolutely right. It's the awareness behind what you're doing that a lot of people just don't know.
I had no idea.
Including I'm point at myself. I mean,
I had no idea.
I
Yeah.
yeah, I didn't either. So I think some of these points are really good. Some of them, we've talked about before, but I think you can never be reminded enough. So let's look at here. The number one, you're too busy. I thought that was kind of interesting. Is it possible that in your past relationships, you were just too busy to make them work or make your dates work? Did the people you were with feel like you had no time for them?
Yes, not me. I mean, I guess you could use that as an excuse to get out of
Mm-hmm.
things because people mostly do. I'm too busy. I can't. I've got to work. I've got kids. I mean, and a lot of it's true, right? But I'll tell you what, I know humans. I know human nature. And when somebody wants to do something, oh
Mm-hmm.
boy,
Yeah.
they do it. They will find a way to do it. If you want something, that is how we operate. So yeah, ask yourself, if am I creating kind of a natural busyness to keep my feelings from getting hurt or from having
Mm-hmm.
to engage,
Yeah.
or these are like putting up obstacles for yourself. It happens, and sometimes you have to check in with yourself and say, wait a minute, okay,
Yeah.
what do I really want this? Because if I
Mm-hmm.
really wanted it, I would make myself less busy.
Great point, because that's a red flag to both sides. If you're dating someone who's too busy, just they're too busy. 9 out of 10 times anyway, they're just too busy. And if
Yeah.
you're finding this out about yourself, well, then you're not really interested or you're not ready for the whole process anyway. So I thought that was a really, really good reminder. Number two here, I thought that was interesting too. You cut dates off too soon, that you really don't give a date a chance to blossom, so to speak.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. And you know why? Because we've got 1,000 options in our back pocket. This is the phone, and apps give us the illusion that there are so many people, and there are, right? The paradox of choice. You either
Yeah.
can't pick one, it's like crippling. You can't pick one, or in your mind, you think, well, I can't settle for one because
Mm-hmm.
there's so much better, which is also an illusion because maybe there is not.
It's a big illusion, absolutely, and it's one that you'll never. It's rhetorical. You'll never have an answer to it. It's also, I think, a sign that that you're really not ready. You're ready to date yet. If you're so quick to react to any little thing that bothers you,
Yes.
yeah.
Okay, and I got to go back to technology here. It's just really kind of short-circuited our patience levels, our ability to take time and
Mm-hmm.
invest and commit. We are so quick to find faults in people because there's so many more. And if it doesn't work with this one, well, there'll be that one, and there's always more. And it's a shame because you're probably giving up on someone that could be great. Back before apps, right? We never knew when our next date was going to come. We didn't know. So we took the time. We took at least some time to get to know that person before we made a judgment. And that that's lost now. We don't do that. It's instant gratification, and
Hmm.
it's snap judgments, and "Oh, I don't like the way you breathe." Okay, out, you're out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and that leads us right to number three. And we've talked about this a million times, but it's a great reminder. You're too picky. You are too
Okay.
picky and you have unrealistic expectations.
Well, that goes hand in hand with the what we just talked about. Yeah, the endless list of requirements and criteria, the unreasonable expectations, which are a killer. Expectations and assumptions, those will just forget it. You'll just be perpetually disappointed if you continue to have these fantasies of the perfection.
Mm-hmm.
It does not exist.
Right.
Perfect people don't exist. You're not perfect. And isn't that good? Isn't that a good thing that you're not? And that's my next blog post, by the way. Isn't it? You're not perfect. And isn't that a good thing?
Yeah, and there's no such thing anyway. So you're in a constant state of search and just driving
uh,
yourself crazy. Yeah,
right,
yeah,
dissatisfaction, disappointment, frustration. We could have
yeah,
a whole discussion, and we will,
yeah.
because the perfection thing is, the good enough is good enough, and we've talked about that before.
Right,
It's got
right.
to be
Oh,
at some
I'm big
point good
into good
enough.
enough's good enough. Yeah,
Oh, yes, yes,
absolutely,
yes, yes, yes.
absolutely. The next one here, this really rings true. And think about that, is that you're a little rough around the edges. And yeah, obviously, if you're sloppy and that sort of thing, I'm not going to throw that in here. Here's what came to me that I think can be very relevant to some people, especially if you're back on the dating scene after a long time. The style you put out, and I'm not big on style. I'm not a fashionista. I'll never
Right,
be a
right,
fashion influencer.
right.
But there are little things that can make such a huge difference. I had a friend recently where we went through this, and I'll throw it over to you. But like men, tucking your shirts in or out, it's a whole
Yeah.
different look. And it does help to get a little help with that.
Okay, I just want to make a point about people showing up when you say rough around the edges. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
online dating has made people at times so disheartened, right, that they don't put in the effort. They feel
Mm.
like, why even try? It's never going to last. We're never going to get past date one. Why even? I mean, I'll show up, but I'm not even going to like make an effort, because they never
Mm-hmm.
go anywhere, right?
Yeah.
That makes me feel like, even on people's profiles, they don't
Mm-hmm.
even take the time to take nice pictures, to put some thought into it, to clean up a little bit. That's not good.
Yeah, they're trying to actually make that a trend. That's another thing that popped in my head when you were saying that. That's one of the dating trends. I don't know, it was 24 or 25, probably both. That, come as you are is the trend. Don't even worry about what you look like. Just be yourself like you always are. I'm sorry, there's always such a
No.
thing as a first impression. And
No, yes,
yeah.
yes, yes. Yeah, I mean, I'm all for being you, but with that said, come on, people. I mean, if you're on a dating app, you have about a second to make an impression. Visual, visual, visual. Okay, both men and women are visual. Okay, okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it may be only one and done, but
Mm-hmm.
for the love of God.
Yeah, I mean, it's the mindset. That's the mindset you're expect. It's a defense. I mean, there's so much there
Oh,
that
yes. Oh,
that we
good
can.
point. Good
Yeah.
point. Oh, I'm not gonna clean up for you because I don't know you. You're not worth it. Or
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even gonna put in a little effort, because this is my way of sort of passive
You
aggressive.
Yeah, you reject
Uh,
yourself before you can get rejected.
right.
Hmm.
That's some deep shit, man.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. Here's another one that is obvious. We've talked about it, but you need to be reminded. You're not over your ex.
I'm all move on. Okay, you got to move on, but you got to
Hmm.
move on at your own pace, and do not hurry the process, because if you hurry the process and you get out there too soon and it goes bad, all you
Hmm.
need is one bad date to make you just start pining for the ex again. It's like you've done all this healing, and then, oh yeah, yeah, or maybe you haven't done you haven't done enough healing, And then you start missing your ex again because you're thinking this sucks and I'm never going to meet
Mm-hmm.
anyone. And so yeah, you gotta wait. You gotta wait.
And it's so unfair to the other person, and if they're healthy and aren't bringing a whole lot of emotional baggage to the table, they're going to look right through that. So yeah, you
Oh
need
yeah,
to
yeah,
be you need
yeah,
to be open and ready for
yeah,
love.
yeah.
Here, another one, very obvious. You refuse to look. Maybe you believe that love, it's going to hit you over the head when it's ready. You're going to run into that person at the grocery store, which it happens, but it's not a really good strategy, I don't think.
I'm all for the random, right? The
Mm-hmm.
random chance encounters, because I do think those are always the best, right? And you never
Mm-hmm.
know. And this is why you've got to make an effort. But with that said, to not look, to purposely like look away or to hide yourself or yes, those are all ways of keeping yourself single. Those are
Mm-hmm.
all ways of avoiding the ultimate task of having to engage and
Mm-hmm.
talk and meet people. And people have all kinds of levels of vulnerability
Mm-hmm.
and pain. And some people aren't really ready. Some people do it on purpose to keep themselves from getting hurt. You have to
Mm-hmm.
ask yourself, am
Yeah.
I ready? You got to look. You have
Yeah.
to make a little bit of an effort
Well, and that's if you want to find somebody. I
if
guess
you
we really
want,
should,
right?
we really need to hammer that home too, is that this isn't, you have to go out and look, you have to find somebody. You tune into this video because you want to learn about finding love. That doesn't mean you have to. I mean, some people are done. And if you really are done, then be done with it. But make sure that it's not, that you're not sabotaging yourself is
Right.
really what the intent here is.
Absolutely. Yeah, you may not want to meet anyone. You may, and that's fine too. But again, as I always say, if you're tuning into this show,
Mm-hmm.
chances are you do want to meet
Yeah.
someone. We've got to make a little effort. It's just what dating requires. I hate to tell you, but yes, yes, yes.
Well, anything
Before,
good requires a little
yeah,
effort. Well, that sounds
yes,
so old fashioned, but it's true.
yeah. Hmm.
It absolutely is. Here's another a good one, Treva. You're unwilling to take a good, hard look at yourself. You look outward, you blame outward. We seldom point this way.
I have written a blog post about this titled, Have you ever thought the problem may be you? Yeah, it would not be a bad idea, people, to
Mm-hmm.
go inward and take a hard look at yourself. And if you can't do that, again, recruit a friend or get some outside input because that was my issue. I didn't know. I was clueless. I had no idea what I was doing until it was
Mm-hmm.
brought to my attention. And then I also went on my own healing journey and learned about a lot of things and light bulbs went off left and right. Oh, that's why I was doing that. And that's because I was right.
It's kind of fun, really, I think, when you get those aha. It's just, to me, it always was. All of a sudden the world made sense. And
Yeah,
certain experiences I had made sense. Not, I realize not everybody feels that way, but to me it was at the time was it was fun.
it's a journey. It can be
Mm-hmm.
a wonderful journey of self-discovery. And it takes some guts to want to know yourself. And sometimes, and a lot of people, for that reason, they seek out a therapist or a coach. And I'm all for it because whatever it takes, right? But yeah, sometimes it is you. And it's not everybody else's fault. And you can blame apps all day. You can blame the modern dating culture. You can blame men or women in general. And yes, all of that, and social media. And yes, and yes. Okay, okay. It's all to blame. But sometimes it is you, and you are doing something unconsciously
Yeah.
to keep people away or to keep yourself single and isolated.
Well, and maybe it isn't you, but what is it that you're doing, or what could you do differently? I think that's part of the point here is, are you willing to change, not change, not your core values and all that kind of stuff, but what is it that you might be doing that you could change?
I think for people of our age, at least I know myself and I know my clients, my clientele tends to be kind of, post 50, right? I think it has a lot to do with fear-based. There's a lot of like, it's either fear-based thinking or some low self-worth. My younger clients, it's a totally different issue. They have too much self-worth. They have too much ego. Our generation, we've been around a little bit, right? We've got some baggage, we've got some pain and suffering, which I think is a positive because it makes us human. The key to, if you want to take a good look at yourself,
Mhm.
is being willing to take it on and to say, all right, this is me. I got all this stuff, right? But I manage it. I manage it.
Mhm.
And that's the key.
Well, finally, here, and this is true too. You truly haven't met the right person. That can happen. Maybe
Yep.
none of this that we talked about.
None of this can be right. We can just throw out the first 7
Yeah.
things.
That makes another great segment. How do you know this person is right for you? Maybe that's where we should end it because, again, that's a whole other segment. How do you know you're with the right person? Do you have any quick answers to that before we sign off here?
I can speak from a little experience because it took me so
Mm-hmm.
long, and it took Robbie a long time to meet me.
Yep. You're the perfect
Um,
example, the epitome
yeah.
of the question.
If you asked him, he'll say that it just was because he hadn't met the right person.
Mm-hmm.
I, yes, hadn't met the right person, but I probably along the way was doing things that, impeded my progress, or I did things that were self-sabotaging,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't know. But what made him different, what made Robbie different from the others, was that it felt a little less effort than the other
Mm-hmm.
ones. The other ones always felt like it was either wrong time or different goals or some conflict. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. No, and they, there really isn't a black and white answer to this. It is a feeling, and that it's something that, again, we can discuss on another segment in so many different ways, and maybe we'll save it for that. Treva, God, I always love talking with you. All these points that we discussed today are certainly covered in your book, Done Being Single, there right
Thank
behind
you. Thank
me.
you.
And I want to make sure too that people sign up for your newsletter and your
Yeah,
blogs.
yeah,
You have
yeah.
such great
Thank
information.
you. Thank you. So you get everything is on my website. So
Mm-hmm.
everything about me and who I am and how I work and how my coaching services and my blogs and my podcasts and my all the press, it's
Yeah.
all there. And you can also sign up for my newsletter at the same time. And I just want to tell the viewers, okay, just how when you say it's always interesting,
Mm-hmm.
our conversations, okay, to the viewers, I'm talking to the viewers right now. Our conversations between me and Silka are so interesting that they continue after we wrap.
That's true.
That
That's true.
it's kind of like overtime with Bill Maher. When the show wraps, right? They continue. And you're such a great host. I just got to
Oh,
tell you,
thank you.
you are
Thank you.
awesome. I think everybody would agree. You're great. And I've been interviewed a gazillion million times. You are a
Thank
fantastic
you.
host.
Thank you, Treva.
Great
Thank you. Enough
questions.
about me. Enough
No,
about
I got
me.
to give you
Put it
some
in the
love, babe.
comments.
Because here's why. I mean, you're going to hear it anyway after the show because I'm going to keep talking. So,
Treva, thank you. And I look forward to our next conversation on Second Act
yay, yay, yay,
TV.
yay. All right. Thank you. Bye, everybody.